The Prince of Egypt is a masterpiece. I know that the word masterpiece is overused nowadays and that films that are just okay are referred to as masterpieces quite often, but for real, absolutely for real, in the most literal meaning, The Prince of Egypt is a masterpiece for so many reasons. And in this little video that I'm doing after the mammoth of a video that was my grieving related one, watch it up there if you want to see it, I want to say exactly why. One thing that you feel from this film's beginning to its end is the passion the filmmakers had for it. It didn't cut any corners. The parting of the Red Sea scene, which took the animators 2 years to complete, the brilliant virtual camera work, which made for some really great looking scenes, the hieroglyphic scene, and of course, there's also what I believe is one of the best openings to any film in existence. These things are all brilliant, and they all wouldn't be as good as they were if it weren't for that overwhelming passion the people working on this project had for the story. I mean, I could literally make an entire video just about everything that goes on in the opening. It establishes so much, it's really brilliant. But to quickly go over it, through mostly showing and not telling, this film takes us on a journey showing us the huge wealth inequality between the ruling class and the slaves. It also shows the danger that those poor people are under, the harsh weather that they live under, the early journey of Moses to being saved, and it establishes the scale of everything too. All of this is done through the scenes that are linked through the brilliant song Deliverers that flows between different styles depending on what the scene calls for. All of this work results in an overall scene that's linked together in a way that makes it easy to understand what's happening, giving us the basis that we need to then follow the rest of the story. It sets the groundwork for what's to come. This film may have twists and turns and looks that make for a masterfully made film, but if the script was bad, chances are all of that hard work wouldn't go to waste, but would be very much undermined by it. Not only was the script well written, with most of its jokes landing well and its more serious aspects hitting well too, it also managed to take a story from religious texts and make it fit into the story beats of a hero's journey really well, all while barely making any changes to the events in those religious texts. I cannot imagine how hard it would have been to not only adapt something from religious texts fit a hero's journey structure, but also to make sure that they don't offend anyone or push any of their audience away. They did it though, in a way that's paced really well and even has atheists singing its praises too, even though they don't believe in the original story. I also love the fact that they show a passage from the three main religious books at the end too. It's a very nice finishing touch. There's never a point where I feel bored, and no scene feels like it's going on for too long, or isn't important to the journey Moses goes on to free the Hebrews from the Pharaoh. I love the characters in this film. I could go through each of them and say why I like them individually, but in this case I'm just going to focus on Ramesses II. He is such a good villain. When making a good villain, the worst possible thing that you can do is just make them bad for the sake of making them bad. And this film could have totally done that. They could have done the whole evil, secluded son who is just sitting and waiting for his chance to become pharaoh so that he can work the slaves to death while trying to lure Moses onto his side. But instead, they made a villain that you could really sympathize for. We see exactly why he does what he does, and we see the huge weight he's got on his shoulders. He's the guy that's the heir to the throne, and as a result is really pressurized a lot by his father, who is literally building up Egypt for him. I mean, his dad probably knows that he won't live to see the construction completed, so the construction really is for Ramesses. Ramesses II also clearly loves Moses, but he also feels like he has to balance that love with not being the weak link that causes the downfall of Egypt, as Moses joked about earlier on.
Statues cracking and toppling over, the Nile drying up. Single-handedly, you will manage to bring the greatest kingdom on earth to ruin.
This makes the story that much more emotional and makes Moses saying,
"Goodbye, brother,"
at the end of the story that much more effective. Ramesses did have to deal with a lot, and he could have made things better for himself, and as the audience, we wanted him to improve, but unfortunately for all of us, he just couldn't bring himself to do that. And so he had the demise that he had. You know how in films there's the one or two scenes that are the standout scenes for the film? You know, for example, the test drive scene from How to Train Your Dragon, the Circle of Life from The Lion King, the Leap of Faith scene from Into the Spider-Verse. Well, in this film, it's literally scene after scene after scene. I recently watched this film again after having not seen it in a while, and I was literally blown away. The brilliant opening, the talk between the brothers and the Pharaoh, which is more ordinary, but for me, it always sticks in my mind because of the visuals. The hieroglyphic scene, the dance around the fireplace, and that whole montage, the burning bush scene, which is beautiful, the plague scene, the death of the firstborn scene, which is technically part of the plague scene, but for me, it's kind of a standout scene. This scene is just so effective by their decision to make it almost silent. It works so well. The splitting of the sea scene, which blows my mind every time I see it, and the When You Believe sequence. These scenes for me are the main reason why I am happy to call this film a masterpiece without a second thought, with all of those scenes being accompanied by music composed by Hans Zimmer and lyrics by Stephen Squatts. When I mention the burning bush scene being a scene that is beautiful, I'm not only talking about the visuals. Yes, the visuals are brilliant, and the singular burning bush in the cave looks so good, but that's only a part of what gives this scene its effect. Another major part is the music. The music titled The Burning Bush may not be what you're used to hearing from Hans Zimmer, who's the guy that's often known for his bassy, loud scores. But this track really shows that Hans Zimmer knows what to do when he has to do a quieter, more peaceful song. The Burning Bush is a track that sounds mystical, yet also fills you with an overwhelming sense of peace and serenity. I remember watching this for the first time and I literally felt like I was being transported into the scene to share the moment with Moses. This scene really is a special one to me, and I know without the music, it still would have been effective, but with the music, well, it's a masterfully done scene. As for the rest of the music in this film, it's all way up there. Playing with the Big Boys is my least favourite, but it's still catchy. The rest of the songs, though, are absolutely brilliant, and the Broadway album actually has some great new songs too. I definitely recommend that album too if you haven't listened to it. Although I do still like the originals better, the originals are really, really good. You know how there are some films that take place across many locations in big cities, but still somehow feel really small and even a bit claustrophobic? Well, right from the start of The Prince of Egypt, you get a feeling of this grand scale. This film doesn't really take place in that many locations if you think about it. Most of them either take place in the palace or in the tiny village the farmers have going on. But through the use of wide camera angles taken from lower down to emphasize the size difference between the people and the structures, as well as the rising of the camera towards the end of the opening scene to show, for one, just how many people have to work to build what they're building, while also showing just how long it takes to get to the top of that particular building, and also the many wide shots actually pointing down on the people, making them look tiny in comparison to the buildings. These things all contribute to making an environment that looks absolutely huge and structures that look ginormous. This all contrasts really well with the Hebrew village, which is shown later on, that instead has most of the things appearing to be around the same height as the villagers, with the camera often being higher up and closer to the characters to make them not look that small. And all of these things come together in a package that's really well done and is what makes this film one of my favourite films, It's just a pleasure to watch every time I see it. And if you haven't seen it before, go and watch it. I mean, I don't know why you watching this video before you watching that. Like, you're gonna spoil it for yourself. Just go and watch it. But anyway, that's my video talking about the Prince of Egypt. After my previous video, I wanted to scale, sorry, that was terrible, back a bit, and just make a video praising a film that I think deserves all the praise that it gets. My future videos will likely go back to being more research heavy, so subscribe to see some of those types of videos. If you want to directly support the making of these videos, I've got a Patreon, which you can learn more about down below. But anyway, thank you all for watching, stay safe out there, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video. That's such a mouthful to say. Bye.